And even though the scheduled time is over, let's make a panel discussion for a while. And among 5 presentations, 2 presentations from Thailand and Vietnam directly relate to the Maritime Ice Age, while 2 other presentations from the Bengal region and the Philippines related to talk about the women's visibility in the fishery industry and also in the fishing community. And the last one from the Inla Lake shows the harmonious relations between the biosphere reserves and the ice age. So my question goes to Thailand case. And in the Thailand, your presentation shows that the practice of sharing food in Chul-In community and exchange food between communities gave us helpful insights on the COVID-19 pandemic. My question is directly related to ICH. Nowadays, Moken people produce not the real boat, but the model boat. How was the Moken Kebang designated as national ICH in Thailand?
Thank you very much for the question. And although Thailand is quite late in ratifying UNESCO ICH Convention, Thailand ratified in 2016. But since 2009, the Department of Cultural Promotion, Ministry of Culture, has received application or nomination of ICH. So every year there's a call for nomination, and communities or cultural council could also propose whatever oral traditions or traditional crafts in the community, and there will be selection by committee of experts every year. So my team member, since we work with the Morgan community, we made the draft, and then the local culture council took the draft, and then we adapted to submit for the nomination. So there's a long process. There are a lot of forms, but then I'd like to point out that we need some people who have information and appreciation to start the procedure, because I think similar to our colleagues who talk about gender and development, especially fisher folks and fisher women, they are mostly invisible. So similar to the situation with the sea nomad or Chul-In in Thailand, they're practically invisible, and their practices and knowledge have been neglected. So I think this is the first step for recognition of the ICH, but then we should do more, because with the process modernization and then really huge rapid economic growth, there is a need for protection and promotion as well. So I think ICH and then the nomination, the signifying the national ICH is important, and it's quite successful, but we need to do more than that. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question goes to the Canoe Festival. And according to your presentation, the festival is filled with various traditional concepts and knowledge. But your presentation does not deal with directly what kinds of traditional conception and knowledge are related to the Canoe Festival.
โอเค very much for the question. And although Thailand is quite late in ratifying UNESCO ICH Convention, Thailand
morning. I would like to explain more about the concept and the traditional concepts and the knowledge related to the festival. Firstly, it includes the community belief about the world worship, because the fishermen, they live mainly on the sea, so they have to perform a ritual to show the respect to the whale and to the sea gods. And in the past, it is merely a ritual, but now it's uh, it's quite big, like a national festival, ICS festival. And because the fishermen say the same concept that the whale is a sacred creature in the sea, and they have to a savior to fishermen and seafarers. That's why they have to show their respect in the festival. And the second knowledge is the young people have transferred the knowledge of how to make a main big votive boat for the festival. It is very special in this area, because in other area of the fishing community, they have the festival but don't have the big votive boat, and that's why through the festival, the knowledge of how to make the boat and the taboo they have to follow during the process of making the boat. The old men have to transfer and to hand down to the young men in the village. And in the process of the making the boat, they have to guide the young people how with the handicraft of making how to make the frame, the bamboo, the paper, the ponji statues on the boat. Many related knowledge of the offering making. And I think one important conception that the young people can have an idea of the sovereignty of the sea and islands, because the festival is a intangible cultural heritage, but it associated with the people, the resident, and the practice. That's why I choose the topic. Maybe my presentation is not clear enough, but in the paper, in the full paper, I show on it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And the next topic is about the women's empowerment. So this general and question goes to Filipino case and the Bengal cases. And how does the visibility of women contribute to women's empowerment? So anyone?
Sir, I would like to answer.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. This is a very interesting question, and I would like to add. Am I audible now, sir?
Oh, yeah, it's clear.
Yeah, this time I'm audible. Okay. Yeah, thank you for the question. This is something practically which I wanted to highlight through my paper, the whole idea of putting up this research paper. Thank you for that. And I would like to answer two important sections for this. One is that whenever I speak about social groups being formed by these women, now this is a very important step in their life. Generally, the income which is generated by the men folk, which also is limited in nature because there are lean seasons of fishing. Also, there are seasons when it is the nationally it is not permitted to fish in certain the waters. So the women take charge in those times with their alternative methods of organized methods of handicrafts and the examples which I showed right now. Also, something to note over here is a lot of money is wasted by the men folk as a result of heavy drinking liquor. This is something, the example of the olive ridley turtle conservation effort, which I just mentioned during my presentation. A woman, the first step that they did,
Oh, I think that her connection to the Wi-Fi or something is not long. So how about Professor Pelayo?
Yes,
Yeah.
I would like to add something about what you're saying. Well, actually, the exclusion and unrecognizability of women in the fishing community really contributes to their increased vulnerability and also disempowerment. So it is believed that if women will be continuously be acknowledged and be visible in the fishing communities, they will maintain a feeling of self worth that will be matched with their ability to make personal choices. And if their rights will be upheld, it will inspire them to strive harder and continue to be proud of their chosen livelihood, and they will be fully empowered. And to um, mention also, there are some studies that says that the fishing sector can only attain development in full capacity if women that are involved in the fisheries will gain also undistinguishable and equal chances with men in order for them to keep that so-called empowerment within them. Thank you.
Okay. And lastly, I want to have a lesson from the Inle Lake about the good relationship between the Biosphere Reserve and the Ice Age. So please. I cannot hear you, so please turn on the audio. I cannot hear you. No, you're.
Hello.
Okay.
Can you hear
yes,
me?
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for your question. In the biospheres and the relationship between biospheres and ICH Inle Lake, because Inle Lake is a shallow lake located and about 884 meters above the sea levels. And then it is a total stream is 29 stream in the water fresh followed into the lake. And then it is it has a lot of species like fish and then birds and other species like a snake. For example, there are 927 species of the medicinal plants and 11 species of bamboo, and then 184 species of the orchids and other species of the plants. And then fauna species are diverse, and the lake is a nesting place of the global intelligence, and the fish species are, I think, 44 species of the fish and 267 birds of the species. These species are the Myanmar from the Myanmar. It's Inle has a lot of species, and in the people, and then near the township like Inle Lake, there has 36 village and conspiring 444 village, including town of the Nyangshui, approximately. And that the dominant ethnic groups settle in the lake regions and and as I mentioned, all the main ethnic group is in the, so the inter people and the around Inland Lake diverse the ethnic groups are balanced and inhabited with these species. For example, as I mentioned, in the crabs, they call in the crabs the fish, the kind of fish is the famous of the inland lake. It is a species fish of the inland lake, and they catch this fish, and then um, this is the consuming of the Inta people, and so Inta people and they balance with the environment and the species, because it is the relationship between biosphere reserves and social ICH of the inland lake. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Dr. Lopamudra is back. So would you finish your words?
Yep. Thank you, sir, for that. And very sorry, got disconnected because of internet fluctuations on my side. So, like I was saying, that something very important to note is that it's the fisher, the woman who not only goes to the towns to sell the fish, but also the interior markets into the rural areas of the entire region that I was talking about. The men don't. So the selling of the fish without any middleman politics also depends upon the woman itself. The earning straight goes to the family, the respective families. Finally, I would like to add as a concluding thing that more than speaking about them, I think it is the awareness about their visibility in the fishing sector which should be made prominent. And I think this can be made, like I mentioned, even newspapers hardly report about the contribution of fisherwomen, including during this pandemic, the lockdown period. Change can come, but the visibility should come also through the spread of awareness and a knowledge about these fisherwomen. I think that this is something that can really contribute towards women empowerment, the fisherwomen themselves. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. And one question from the YouTube, from the audience, goes to Dr. Lopamudra.
Yes, sir.
So you mentioned the women of West Bengal and Bangladesh whom are related with maritime tradition. Can you please mention that from which community they belongs?
This is something which I thought of highlighting firstly when I wanted to write this paper. And very in a small manner, I spoke about it while speaking about Sri Lanka. But the community, the caste sections, I wanted to keep it section uh, through an economic representation rather than through a section of caste and creed. Even when I was talking about Sri Lanka, which is very highly divided, that's the reason I purposely kept it aside, because in this attempt, I wanted to look at the economic contribution of women as a
Hi,
community
chắc orang mau tahu nào
altogether,
nó.
rather than a segregated example between caste and creed of the region. So, yes, I can speak about it, but probably it will take another lengthy discussion, uh, maybe in another place. Right now, I was trying to look at women without any distinction of a caste as an economic section and their contribution in the region. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. There is a question about the Konyu festival. And in your studies of different cases you studied, what did you observe in regards to the impact of COVID and restrictions? And the question is how it affected the Canoe Festival and if they developed a strategy as a response to the COVID pandemic?
The disaster and the pandemic affected the festival because this year it would be a big festival because it's the even year. But because the pandemic, people cannot concentrate together because social distancing. That's why the festival is just organized in a very small scale, a ritual of the community, not included the festivity activity like games or sport competition like other year. Is that the content of the questions? Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And probably the last question from the YouTube goes to Inle Lake case. You have mentioned the cultural and the social diversity in Inle Lake, which is closely associated with ICH. And your example of hydroponic farming showed how communities around the Inle Lake are using nature to bring economic benefits. With that being said, I'm curious about what kind of efforts are taking place to save inland lake from shrinking. Many scholarly articles and scientific studies indicate that rapid deforestation and climate change are tremendously reshaping the environment of inland lake. How can communities and local governments prepare for sustainable development while promoting and safeguarding the ICH? It's a big question.
This is interesting questions. As you mentioned, now inland lake is like emergency case for the deforestation and other pollution. And at the time of from May to March, May to April, May, there is no water in the lake now. And then because of deforestation and other effect, so government will take with other INGOs and to reserve the inland lake, and then especially floating garden. As I mentioned in my presentation, former time the farmers produce floating island from the lake shore, and now they are prohibited because of the environment issue, and then they made man-made garden only, and the government don't allow to produce the natural island floating island. This is the first issue, and then the second is for the ICH. They depend on the handicrafts, and not only the floating garden handicraft, and the government, especially Shan government, the regional government, they support to do the handicraft, and especially in the Ludex weaving is the famous, and now it's like a trading product of the inland lake, and the other intensive cultural heritage like a festival, like other activities are concerned, and it's and cooperate with the communities and the government. For example, and the Founder Festival is it has a lot of ICH of the Inlay Lady. It is the unique of the Inlay communities. But now, actually, this time is the festival time. But for because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and we don't held the festivals and the interpeople only. They celebrate the festival only their village, like not like normally, and but they held themselves just within the village only, and so as you mentioned, for the sustainable development of the Inlay ICH is government is safeguard like how safeguard and promote support and knowledge to the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I guess there are some more questions or comments from the panel, but the time is the 30 minutes after the scheduled time. So I want closed today's session. Are you agree? So Minji, your turn.